Alright, so we're going to use tree diagrams in probability. So the learning goal is to use tree diagrams to help answer 2- and 3-step probability experiments. If you're looking at this in an order, we looked at arrays that help us do this. Now we're going to look at tree diagrams. And my experience is that students don't like using tree diagrams, but as soon as we draw one, they're able to answer the questions pretty easily. So I encourage you to use this this type of learning. So every Anzac Day, we play 2-up, okay? And what it is that it's 2 coins, all right? Both sides have tails or heads, just like a normal coin. And you make a bet and see if you win. So you either win if in 2-up you get 2 heads, so you get heads and heads, or tails and tails, okay? So what we're going to do is that we're going to draw a probability tree on it. So first of all, we have to draw this, and this one we'll call the first coin, because there's 2 coins that get thrown in the air. Woo! These coins get thrown in the air. So we've got heads or tails. That could be one of the outcomes. And then we've got the second coin. And we can get heads or tails, heads or tails. Okay? At the end of a probability tree diagram, we can add up all the outcomes. So if we follow this tree branch, we can get heads in the first coin, or we can also get heads in the second coin. And so that means that our outcome there will be heads, heads, or we could get heads in the first coin and then tails. So that means we're going to get tails and, well, wrong way around. Heads, then tails. And then we can follow this one where we get tails first and then heads. Or we can get tails and then tails. Right? Now there's 2 ways we can do this. What's the probability of getting tails in the first coin? Well, it's just a half. What's the probability of getting heads? It's a half. What about in the second coin? Well, it's the same thing. Okay? So I'm going to write that there. So I'm going to ask the first question. What is the probability of getting 2 tails? Well, it's just that one there out of how many outcomes? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the probability of getting, remember we have to write our notation, 2 tails is actually 1 out of 4. Now there's a second way we can work this out, and it's by multiplying these probabilities. So we can go a half times a half, and it will also give us a quarter. If you put that in your calculator, you'll find that it's correct. Now, and that's the only time I'm going to do this for this example. So this is example 1. Okay, so what is the probability of getting 1 head and 1 tail? Well, that's this one here. Oh, and it's also this one here. So let's write it neatly here. Probability of getting 1 head and 1 tail, and it's actually 1, 2. Out of how many outcomes in total? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Now I can simplify this to a half. Okay? So we can do it that way. Alright, so hopefully you can see that you can get really nice simple probability information by just doing it with a tree diagram. Alright, here we've got 2 jelly bean jars. Here's the first jar. All right, and here's the second jar. Now, these aren't very big jars. They're very small, actually. And they only have 2 types of jelly beans. They have 1, 2, 3 red jelly beans and 2. I'm just going to draw them in. Okay. Now, what we've got is I'm going to call this jar A and jar B. All right. So let's draw the tree diagram. The first choice we're going to make is if we're going to get a jelly bean from jar A or jelly bean from jar B. So I'm going to do it like this. I'll do it up here. So A or B. Now this is a 50-50 chance. So we're going to say a half and a half. Okay. Now the next thing is that we can get, from jar A, we can get yellow or red jelly beans, and from jar B we can get yellow or red. Okay. So, what are the chances of getting yellow? Well, it's 1, 2, 3 out of a total of 5. So we're going to write that out as 2 out of 5. And what are the chances of getting red? Well, that is 1, 2 out of 5 as well. So, somebody already saw that I made a mistake. Yellow, we got 3 out of 5. And red, we got 2 out of 5. Now, in the second jar, you can see it's actually 2 for yellow out of 6. So it actually has 1 more. And for red, we can get 4 out of 6. Now, what are the probabilities of this? Well, the probability of getting a yellow up here is a half times 3 over 5, and that works out to be 3 over 10. So all I've done is multiplied these probabilities. Okay. Or to get a red, we're going to go half times 2 over 5, and that ends up being 2 over 10, which goes to be 1 over 5. And all we did was multiply that by that. And I'm going to do that all the way down. Now I'm going to multiply this by this. So we get a half times 2 over 6. Multiply top with top, which is 2. Bottom with bottom, over 12, which is actually 1 over 6. And for the last one, we need to multiply this by this. So that's a half times 4 over 6. And that is 4 over 12. And that simplifies to 1 over 3. Okay. So that's our tree diagram showing all the outcomes. Now let's answer these questions. What is the probability of getting a red jelly bean? Well, to get a red jelly bean, we can either get it from this jar or this one, okay? So what we have to do is add their probabilities. So that's 1 over 5 plus 1 over 3. So we're going to go probability of getting red is going to be 1 over 5 plus 1 over 3. And so the best way we can do is just pop that in your calculator. But I'll show you equivalent fractions if you don't remember. Remember, I'm going to make the denominators the same by multiplying by the other one. So we get 3 over 5 over 15 plus 5 over 15. So much quicker if you use your calculator. I'm using this to show you, and that equals 8 over 15. All right. So the probability of getting a red is going to be 8 over 15. What's the probability of getting a yellow jelly bean? Well, we're looking at, I'm going to use a different, we're looking at this and this, so we're going to add that probability to that probability. So let's have a look at that. So that's going to be 3 over 10, so I'm looking at the pink ones, plus 1 over 6. Okay, so this one I am just going to put in my calculator because last time it took me too long. So I need to get it up. I'm struggling here. Okay, so I've got it up on my screen now. You can't see it. So it's 3 over 10 plus 1 over 6, and we get an answer as 7 over 15. Okay, so there we go. Hopefully this makes sense, but that's probability using tree diagrams. Peace out.